Okay, so as a lead interviewer, you receive the interview box, and we have a fake one here to go over with you, and so we can unpack the box together. And just so you know, we try to be organized on our part. We have color-coded checklists here at the office that we use to help us pack boxes, and so we have lots of our own checklists as well, although we send lots to you. So, here's the box. Usually on top, you'll first see the child distraction materials. That's what these are. So if there's an interview with a child on it, you will find these in there. You'll also see the family gift. This is the picture frame, so they're different for each wave as well. Then you'll also see your interviewer wellness kit, which is very helpful with flu season upon us. And for children, you'll also see snacks packed as well. So these are just generic materials that are included when you do have children on the interview. A few extra things there. So then I'm just going to slide out the rest of what's in here. You'll find the return envelope, which we ask you to put everything in when you're returning the materials, but we will go over that a little bit later. Then you'll see specific color-coded folders for each individual, which we will go over the contents that are inside of them. And then we have this green Family Journeys folder, and this is the folder that gets left with the family. So this has all sorts of resources that we like to leave with the family. So the Family Journeys folder stays with them, stays behind, and it has our logo on it, so it's also a good way to have them remember who we are when we're not there. So that you leave with the family. Then you'll also see the actual interviews themselves printed. There could be many depending on who's in the home, especially we also send extra pre-interview surveys, even though they should have already gotten those, but we do send extras. And then there's also envelopes for returning the materials, which we will go over what should go in each envelope as well. So the main part about receiving the information is to know kind of what's in each of these folders, because that's where the majority of the paperwork is. So since the significant other is the one constant person that's interviewed throughout the study, since service members aren't interviewed during deployment and children aren't interviewed during pre-deployment, we thought it would be helpful to include all of the materials essentially that are for the entire family with the significant other folder. And so that's what we have here. And this is also labeled the team lead folder. So as a lead interviewer, you really want to check this folder out and make sure that you get all the materials that you need out of it. This doesn't mean that the lead interviewer has to always interview the significant other. It just means that there's stuff in here that you're going to need to redistribute to your other interviewers, which we will go over in the next segment of this video. So in here you'll see the family information form, which is really important to have that, and this one is blackened out for purposes of the video. You'll see copies of the consent forms, and these are again returned to MFRI, and if it's a pre-deployment, they will be new consent forms to be signed, but we're pretending this is a deployment 1 interview right now. You'll also see the thank you card that eventually everybody will sign at the end of the interview that comes back to the office so that we could send it to the family. And then you have the data checklist, which we now have 1 per group, so there's only 1 of these now, whereas before there was 1 for every interviewer. And then payee certs, extra payee certs, and extra fit tasks as well, instructions. So the significant other folder does have, like I said, the majority of the information and paperwork that you need that's not person specific. There's also the envelopes for all the recordings in this folder and the compensation card for the family. And if it was a pre-D interview, obviously there'd be more consent forms in here as well. So that is what's in the significant other folder. We pretended that on this deployment interview there were 2 children, so we have 2 separate folders. And inside them, again, we have extra consent and assent forms. And because these folders are pre-made, they contain the appropriate consent and assent forms for children of all ages. So even if you're interviewing, a 3-year-old, you're going to see consent and assent forms for older children, just because these are like pre-made packets. And so that kind of eases things up on the scheduling desk to have these folders ready to go so that when an interview comes along, they can simply pack folders rather than individual papers. So that's what all of this is here. And then again, the appropriate envelope to put the recording in, compensation card, and also for children, we provide you guys with blank paper and colored pencils as a way of helping the children be a little bit distracted during the interview if that's helpful for them. So there'll be a folder for each person being interviewed. The same materials are in this folder as well. So, as a lead interviewer, it's important to make sure that all these materials are here. Like I said, we do have our own handy-dandy checklist to make sure that everything you need is sent in the box, but it's always helpful to make sure that you received all the materials you need to receive. And in the next segment of the video, we'll talk about your role as a lead in terms of distributing materials to all the other interviewers on the interview, since things are organized in a way that what certain people need for each person isn't all necessarily in one place. So we will go over that shortly.